I've played Metal Gear Solid 3 so many times that I've lost count. You would think that I would know the game inside and out by now, but I'm still learning more about it all these years later. The origins of Big Boss had to be a difficult story to tell for Kojima. Being a prequel means we once again aren't in the shoes of Solid Snake, the biggest complaint of Metal Gear Solid 2. Instead, we are Naked Snake, the man that would become the villain and biggest mystery of the Metal Gear franchise. The past also means less technology, resulting in a shift to survival elements and close quarters combat that define Metal Gear Solid 3's gameplay. Metal Gear Solid 3 has been getting nothing but praise for the last 20 years, and now with Metal Gear Solid 3 Delta, new players can play this classic from a modern lens. But to understand the changes in Delta, it's important to go back to the source. Now there are 4 distinct versions of Metal Gear Solid 3, all of which have their own ups and downs. The Master Collection uses the HD remastered version, and that's what you'll be seeing here. No matter which version you play, the story stays the same. John, codenamed Naked Snake, is sent into the jungles of the Soviet Union to rescue Sokolov, a scientist working on a nuclear-equipped battle tank. The boss, Snake's mentor and mother figure, initially plays support on his mission, only to defect to the Soviet Union with her Cobra unit. They took Sokolov for their new host, Colonel Volgin. Volgin now has Sokolov, the tank, the Cobras, and 2 nuclear warheads which he maliciously launched at his own country, while blaming the catastrophe on the boss. In order to prove the US's innocence, Snake must retrieve Sokolov, destroy the Shackleton, take on the Cobras, and kill the boss, the most difficult part of the mission from a skill and emotional standpoint. Snake has a crew working remote to help him along. On the field, he teams up with the seductress Eva, a KGB spy who may not be trustworthy. Ultimately, Snake is alone on this mission and must survive both man and nature. MGS3 expanded the interactive gameplay of Metal Gear Solid 2 by taking us out of a cramped oil tanker to an expansive jungle. I never thought about it when I was a kid, but Metal Gear Solid 3 might just be my first survival game, excluding Resident Evil. Snake needs to gather resources from food to weapons in order to make it out alive. The jungle is full of animals and vegetation that Snake can consume. Hunting for food will be your main source of health, as Metal Gear Solid 3 has changed its healing system by having you heal over time based on the fullness of Snake's stamina. Eating refills your stamina, and your stamina controls how well you aim and how fast you heal. I love the little details like his stomach growling, Snake gaining more stamina if he likes the food, and even some food having strange properties.
I ate one and it recharged my batteries.
Huh?
I thought a mushroom that glows that bright was bound to charge up my batteries if I ate it, and I was right.
Food can be found everywhere, but that doesn't make Metal Gear Solid 3 easier. Food can spoil if it sits too long, and some creatures can be poisonous. There are herbs that you can find as well, but these aren't for seasoning. Going with the theme of survival, Snake can take damage from cuts, broken limbs, bullets, and even nasty leeches. You need to apply first aid to yourself in order to fully recover, and the items needed can run out, so try not to hurt yourself too much. Compared to a dedicated survival game, Metal Gear Solid 3 is more like baby's first survival game. You don't need to sleep or manage too many gauges, but what's here can be a gateway into the genre. I didn't look at Metal Gear Solid 3 that way growing up, as most survival games lived on PC at the time, and as a console player, Metal Gear Solid 3 was the only game of its kind. The survival mechanics are oddly only done to this degree in Metal Gear Solid 3, despite Naked Snake's other adventures borrowing from the innovations made here. Stealth has also gotten an upgrade, as Snake can get up close and personal with CQC. Close quarters combat allows for more than just a 3-hit combo. Snake can grab enemies, slam them to the ground, hold them hostage, interrogate them, knock them out, or take them out if you're on the ruthless side. As cool as the CQC feature is, honestly, now that I look back at it, it's mostly a showcase of Metal Gear Solid 3's amazing animations than it is anything impressive when it comes to gameplay. It was revolutionary at the time, and it's still impressive now, but playing Metal Gear Solid 2 again showed me how much of this system was already developed there. Aside from that, slamming guys on their butt is nothing but satisfying, and a lot of the jank from Metal Gear Solid 2 has been ironed out with a simpler control scheme. We may be in an open jungle, but this is still a stealth mission, and the genius idea of turning the D-pad into a stalking walk was a great way of giving them a purpose. Out in the wilderness, hiding in tall grass will be your main camouflage, but changing your outfit can increase your chances of blending in. Camo can be found hidden around each area, and some can be dropped by bosses. Covering your face and body with the right combination will make you harder to spot, and some camo come with special buffs like making all food taste good, while some outfits restrict your ability to use CQC. Just make sure you pay attention to the buffs, as some outfits can even drain all your stamina, and you might be wondering why you're so weak all the time. The tasty creatures found in the jungle aren't all friendly, as some can attack you if you aren't vigilant, but Snake is a fast learner. Instead of killing that snake, why not capture it and just toss it at a guard? The tiny details like destroying an enemy's radio, realistic limb damage, and the goofy behavior of the soldiers are all here in typical Kojima fashion. A huge change to Metal Gear Solid 3 came with the Subsistence release. This added the new behind-the-back third-person camera angle. Originally, Metal Gear Solid 3 had a fixed camera angle, and you can still play with it in the Remaster Collection and the new Delta version. But if I'm being honest, I never played much of the game in its original camera style. Can you blame me though? Remember, Metal Gear Solid 3 is set during the Cold War, so that means there's no traditional radar like the series is known for. Being able to see more of your surroundings without going into first person is a must for a game like this. But who knows? I do plan on trying Metal Gear Solid 3 in the way it was intended to be played originally, so I might end up regretting ignoring this option later. No matter which style you prefer, every Metal Gear game going forward used a behind-the-back camera like Subsistence. It clearly became the fan favorite and helped to lay the foundation of the over-the-shoulder aiming that became the standard for Metal Gear. Boss fights in Metal Gear Solid 2 were arguably a step down from Metal Gear Solid 1. MGS3 came back to redeem the lackluster fights of 2 with engaging fights that each have their own gimmick while not coming across cheesy. Ocelot is an evolution of the Olga fight where it's all about taking cover and shooting either Ocelot or something in the environment. My favorite fight has to be the end, a one-on-one sniper battle with the sharpest shooter in the world, and it takes place in 3 big hubs, making a very unique boss fight compared to every other one. He uses the forest to spot you, but if you're wise, you could turn the wilderness back on him. There are also a few ways of taking him out without engaging him in battle, including killing him off before you even officially meet. Metal Gear Solid 3 hands down has the best lineup of boss fights, with the only thing lacking being a cool horror one. Yeah, the Sorrow's hallway of ghosts didn't blow me away like Psycho Mantis or the creepy ending of Metal Gear Solid 2. There's not much to say negative about Metal Gear Solid 3. Sure, you could argue that the controls are a bit jank, but that's more to do with the uniformity of games today. If Delta is your introduction to Metal Gear Solid 3, then the original version might cause you to have a conniption with its good but outdated control scheme. The survival and stealth genre go together like peanut butter and jelly. It's both amazing and sad that Metal Gear Solid 3 is still the leader when it comes to blending these two elements. Maybe Delta could inspire someone to try this mixing again. All in all, the gameplay of Metal Gear Solid 3 is certified greatness, and only through the modern day lens could someone hate on this. How games are played and controlled may change over time, but not the effects of a great story. On the surface, Metal Gear Solid 3 is nothing more than a well-written origin story. Characters like Ocelot and Snake are guaranteed to make it out alive, but despite knowing that, I was still in suspense when their lives were in danger. That's not an easy thing to do, but the great writing, characters, and themes suck you in to the point of forgetting any obtained knowledge from the other games, unless you do something stupid. Kojima keeps the ongoing loop of repeated events in Metal Gear Solid 3. Snake kills Boss, his mother figure, similar to how his son would kill him in the future. The Boss killed the Sorrow, her comrade and lover, because it was her mission. Solid Snake would do the same, fighting his friend and mentor Gray Fox. Like the Boss said, there is no absolute enemy. With the times, friends become foes and foes become friends. The Boss, a friend, mentor, and lover change roles in Snake's life right before his eyes. Snake's life may be on the chopping block if he fails, but really his issue is struggling with having to kill someone he loves. The Boss asks Snake an important question throughout the game. What is loyalty to the end? Regardless of who's in charge, a soldier is loyal to their country, and the only thing true is the mission. Sounds a lot like Raiden, but unlike Raiden, the boss doesn't really believe that. The difference between a soldier and a man with a gun is the loyalty and instructions of the country backing them. Snake ultimately finishes his mission, but not for the sake of anyone else but the boss. Snake only finished his mission because of his respect for the boss, and in the end, he suffered great trauma over his decision. Naked Snake wasn't a killer. Countless times he saved Ocelot when doing him in would have been the safer option, and he saved Eva when he really didn't need to. The boss and Naked Snake were all pawns in the government's game, and not much changed for the future generation of soldiers. Metal Gear Solid normally ends with the main character learning a lesson. Solid Snake began to live life and fight for what he believed in. Raiden started his life over and began to search for his purpose. But Metal Gear Solid 3 ends with a broken man crying at the grave of his closest friend. That's because Snake didn't learn the lesson the boss tried to teach him. Remember I said the boss didn't believe in loyalty to the end. When she went to outer space and saw how big the Earth was, she realized how petty war can be, and she would rather have a world at peace. She only went on this mission because she knew that World War III was around the corner if the Shagohol was completed. When Vogan blamed her for the launch of the nuke, the mission changed. She was to pretend to be a defector and to stop Vogan from the inside, but this was without the knowledge of the Soviet Union. Her new mission was to die as a traitor, retrieve the philosopher's legacy, and she couldn't tell Naked Snake either. The game paints her as a true patriot, but she really wasn't. The reason the game ends with Eva telling Snake the truth was to show that she was the one that had the revelation. The boss told Snake he doesn't have an emotion to carry into battle yet. This is true as Snake is simply a soldier that follows orders, like Raiden. But unlike Raiden, Naked Snake didn't have someone to teach him to live his own life. Well, he did, but he missed the point that the boss was trying to make through Eva. The boss was named the Joy for how much she loved battle, but along the way learned that there was more to life than the thrill of violence. Sound familiar? She wanted Snake to learn the lessons that she had already learned, but she couldn't directly tell him. Eva wasn't a bad translator either. When you hear the story of the boss through Eva, you hear the pain, the fear, the sorrow, the end, and the fury. The pain of losing her child and her adopted sons. The sorrow of betraying her loved ones. The fear that nothing will change. The fury of knowing that there is no way out. And the end of knowing that her life is over. As a player, I misunderstood the boss for years until I played the game over for the millionth time. The boss died a hero only to those that knew the truth, and in the future, Naked Snake, now Big Boss, would mistake her legacy as wanting soldiers to fight on their own terms, instead of wanting peace like the boss really wanted. Snake became a man with a gun, a mercenary, fighting just for the sake of it. The lesson here is that no one is truly loyal to their country. The boss technically told the truth through Eva, making her not so patriotic as she broke a direct order. Eva went against her mission and didn't kill Snake because of her promise to the boss. Ocelot is Ocelot, I don't think we really have to explain much about him. Sokolov wanted to leave his country to go to America, and Vogan killed his own people. My favorite traitor is Granin. He loved his country and wanted to remain a hero. But just like most people, his beliefs overcame his patriotism. He wanted Sokolov gone because they chose his tank over Granin's invention. He was so upset that he was going to send his designs to America and aid Snake in his mission. That design would eventually become Metal Gear. Metal Gear Solid spoke about passing on genes, while Metal Gear Solid 2 touched on passing down your beliefs. The boss passed her genes to a child that was stripped away from her. She adopted sons, but passed her beliefs on to Eva and Snake. Human desire always beats patriotism. The boss couldn't just be a puppet and complete her mission, as she already learned that the powers that be are out for themselves, so why can't she do the same? She only played along because ultimately, World War III would have been bad for everyone, and that would have gone against her beliefs, or rather her emotions that she carried into battle. She wanted Snake to find his own reason to fight, but in the end, he only searched for the boss. That's why Solid Snake didn't tell Raiden what to believe in, but simply told him he had to believe in something. Right or wrong, isn't that what we're all doing? believing in something, or being a pawn for someone else's agenda. Snake, in a way, went on to be a pawn for the boss, or at least his bad interpretation of what she wanted, chasing after a ghost and losing himself in the process. Tricked by multiple people trying to follow the misunderstood will of the boss, which is very similar to how his own sons tried to follow after his footsteps. The title Snake Eater goes deeper than the obvious. Snake is given that name because the boss led the Cobra unit. Snake went on to eat all of them, not including the snakes he literally ate in the jungle. Eva is a play off of Eve from the Bible, but she is a snake that tricked everyone. But no snake is more deceitful than Ocelot. A snake eating itself is often a symbol of a never-ending cycle. The Metal Gear series is a series of cycling events that only end when people just stop. The boss wanted Snake to live a normal life, but he couldn't let go of her. Solid Snake actually stopped, but they drug him right back in. But at least he fought for a future, the same one the first boss wanted. It's kind of ironic that Metal Gear just stopped after 5. Metal Gear Solid 5 was never actually completed, and Kojima went on to make a series on its way to be just as big as Metal Gear. I guess you could say Metal Gear has stopped eating itself, even if we never got a complete story. Or I would say that, but it looks like the cycle is repeating itself with Metal Gear Solid Delta.
That should stir things up a bit. You'd better hurry.